And welcome back to another episode of Getting Down with the Browns, baby. We got special guest Grant Puskar with us. How we doing tonight, boys?
Doing good. Appreciate you guys having me.
Let's go, baby.
Oh my God!
The Cleveland Browns are back, baby.
What did I just watch?
Thank the Lord. The Cleveland Browns.
God is good.
Yes, sir.
God is always good. God is good.
Hey, shout out to our special guest, Grant's in the house, baby. That's a fly hat, bro. Where'd you get that hat from?
Appreciate it. I was actually at a game and I was walking by. You know how you get to games and they have those little shops, those like low key little shops they have. They had this hat there and I had to snag it. I've never seen it before.
That is.
Yeah, they got some.
Fly.
The Browns low key have gotten some dope merch in the stadium in the recent years. It used to be crap, but a lot of it's gotten to be pretty dope. KFC and I were looking at some of it on Sunday.
Yes, sir. Bro, you in the choir outfit?
Bro, I'm in the choir, bro. I'm so pumped up. Listen.
Can we hear some
Never
tunes?
in my entire life, I don't want to go on a rant already, but never
Oh,
in
boy.
my entire life have I been more confident about a football game. Houston is about to get blown. Dame and Pierce? Is that all you got? Is Pierce? You know they have the worst rushing defense in the league, and they want to go up against Nick Chubb? What are we talking about? Let me play with this Rubik's Cube. I got time today. It's Pack the Pound Thursday.
today.
I'm feeling real good.
It is past the pound.
Man, I'm already sweating already. I'm sweating already. Let's get in. Let's get it.
Are you guys ready to get into it? You know,
Let's get into it.
We
Get into
Sunday.
this.
Sunday, we got four. Four's up. He's returning.
Four's up, baby.
So, what are we to expect from four? Like, what are you guys expecting to see?
Do you want to start it off, Matty G, and then Grant, and then I'll go?
I'll start off. I think I've already been over this, and this is very weirdly positive coming from me. I'm expecting to see a top 5 quarterback. I get it, and Deshaun even talked about this today. There's going to be some rust. I actually major shout out to him for his press conference today. I thought he came off like a mature leader. I thought he handled all the questions very, very well. Definitely a little bit of a change of pace from his August press conferences where you could argue that some of his answers may have been less than ideal. But today I thought Deshaun definitely really navigated the ship and just came off like a focused leader and quarterback of this offense who's ready to go ball. For me, I think my expectations is at least 300 yards and 3 TDs. Look, I get there's going to be some rust, but he's playing the Houston Texans. They're a god-awful football team. John McClain was on the fan today and basically compared this to a joint practice. The Texans are so terrible. If Deshaun Watson's truly a franchise quarterback, truly a top 5 quarterback, whatever you want to say, he needs to go out and ball out on Sunday. For me, if he balls out on Sunday, that's fine. That's my expectation. I think he's going to be average the rest of the season, but he's basically playing a defense you'd see in the preseason. He needs to go out and ball. That's how I see it.
What does that mean? What do you mean average for the rest of it? What is average for Deshaun Watson? What are you talking about?
Like Jacoby Brissett
average.
play?
I think he'll be at like slightly above Jacoby level because at the same time, like as much as we want to talk about like how great of a player Deshaun Watson is, because he is. He's a transcendent talent. I didn't truly appreciate how good he was until I started watching some old highlights from the 2020 season. He's not going to do that day one. They're just you eventually, like, for example, like if we didn't podcast for 2 months, I'm not going to probably be whipping off one-liners. Manny's not going to be dancing like a disco guy. You got to get into it and feel it once again. I think you're going to see that from Deshaun. Like the Bengals have some talent on defense. The Ravens have some talent on defense. The Commanders' defensive lines is full of a bunch of beasts. Like if you look at the defenses we're playing, they're not stellar, but at the same time, they're full of guys who can slow him down, and they have the pass rushers to somewhat contain a mobile QB. To me, to kind of wrap up my long point, I think an average game for him, like I guess if we're going to say pedestrian game, would be somewhere between 200, 250 yards, 1 or 2 TDs, and maybe an interception. I do expect him to throw a couple more interceptions than normal this 6-game stretch because, again, he's still getting used to the pace of the game. He was talking about this. It's a big difference from going from working out at T3 trainers in Avon to having NFL cornerbacks and defensive ends coming at you. It's just a big difference. You've got to have reasonable expectations for the guy.
We
Well, I'll listen. I'll let Grant go first. Let me not say anything. Let me hold on. Let me hold on. Go ahead, Grant. Go ahead, Grant.
Let's hear it.
What are your expectations for Deshaun Watson?
You know, I think realistically, expectation-wise, I think he's got to go 4-2 in the last 6 games. They brought him on, $230 million quarterback, all guaranteed. You know, he's Deshaun Watson. You know what you're getting out of him. You're getting an elite quarterback, supposed to be top 5. You know, makes the game easier for the offense, makes the game easier for the defense. You know, if Watson is extending drives on 3rd down with his legs, something Jacoby couldn't do, you know, keep the defense on the sideline. And the defense right now is our weak area. And, you know, that's what you need out of the quarterback. As far as Sunday, you know, I don't expect him to look, you know, I know Matty G said, you know, 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. You know, I don't expect him to go completely nuclear on Sunday. For your point, Manny, they win the game easily, 100%. They're just a better football team. You know, I could see somewhere, you know, 250, 300 through the air. I think he runs for 60 through to 70, you know, with his legs, and maybe runs in a touchdown. But, you know, as far as this excitement when it comes to running the table, I think if they start these next 6 games and they go 3-0, they'll run the table. Because you look at, you know, they'll beat the Texans, okay? Then you go to Cincinnati, who's catching fire right now, and that's the game of the week this Sunday when they host the Chiefs. And then if they come home, Watson's home debut, and they beat Baltimore, they're not going to lose to the Saints. They're not going to lose to the Commanders, and they're sure as hell not going to lose to the Steelers. So if they go win the next 3, they will run the table.
So first and foremost, I love the talk. I love the talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. I do. I love it. I want the Cincinnati Bengals to be as best as they possibly can be. Because you want to know something about Cincinnati? 8-9. And I was in high school. I never really got good grades in high school. But you want to know something? What I found out was that if you get over a 90, you want to know what letter grade you get? That's an A. That's better than a B. And right now, the Cincinnati Bengals have lost 8 of the last 9. And if they lose again, that'll be 9 out of 10. That'll be a 90. That'll be an A. And that's what I'm trying. Right now, we have control psychologically over Cincinnati. So I don't even care about Cincinnati.
It's on side.
Houston, it's laughable. I don't even know what to tell you. I mean, Christian Kirksey, is that what we're worried about? We're not even getting David Mills. We're getting Keenan Allen. Is it who is it? Kyle.
Some guy named
Kyle.
Cortez Allen. We're not even getting Davis Mills. We're never getting their guy. That's a dub. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. That's the team that I'm concerned about. That's the team that I'm really worried about.
Really?
Because we haven't beaten Lamar in a while. Yes, because Lamar can come back from the bathroom on 4th and 1 and throw a touchdown pass to win the game. Lamar can throw 4 interceptions versus the Cleveland Browns and then win the football game. That's who I'm worried about. Is Lamar Jackson. But guess what? Deshaun Watson, we got to flip the whole script now. You can't load the box versus Cleveland. Oh, no. What are you going to do? You got to spread them out. So that's why I'm saying, listen, I'm more confident than most people probably are because, you know, I think that everybody likes to say 6-0 just to throw it out there. But I actually believe 5-1 is very possible. People got, the Commanders. I don't care about the Washington Commanders. Be real, Matty G. Talk about it. I mean, nobody really cares about that. And Jarvis Landry comes back to town too. Oh, wow. People are going to be super happy about Jarvis. Sorry, you got to go
Is
back
he
to
even
Nola
going to play?
With an L.
Is he even going to play?
I don't even know he's going to play. I don't know.
He's playing like what? 4 games this year at most. He balled out week 1, but he's not played like the rest of the season.
But it's ridiculous. And we have TBD last game. We don't even have a time for that last game because the Steelers. They didn't even know how the Steelers were going to play. Steelers are trash. My wife's not home. I can say Steelers are trash all day, every day. It doesn't even matter. They're garbage. Kenny Pickett is garbage. George Pickens is the only guy that I'm worried about, and he might not even get the ball on Denzel. Listen, 5-1. I'm throwing a loss. I don't even know. It's just a loss to something else, a Cade York field goal. I don't know, something like that. But my expectations for Deshaun Watson, and then I'll let you go, Christian, because I've been taking up all this time.
No, you're good, buddy.
I'm already sweating. It must be the lights or something. The thing that I understand right now, and the thing that I'm going to expect from Deshaun Watson is a 15, maybe 16 out of 20, maybe 200 plus yards. You got a little bit of a sprinkle in a touchdown, a sprinkle in a rushing touchdown, and then maybe you can throw in an interception from just like an Anthony Schwartz, tip ball kind of thing. That's what I expect. Nothing crazy, but you'll see the Browns dominate Houston. That's what you'll see is the Browns dominating Houston. It won't be anything. It won't be the Deshaun show, but not yet.
So here's what I think is going to happen. Nicholas Jamal Chubb's going to have a field day on that defense. They cannot stop the run at all. I say Nick Chubb will have about 20 carries or close to it for about 150, 160 yards. but he'll only touch the end zone one time. He's going to get us to the end zone a couple of times. I think Deshaun Watson has 4 passing touchdowns, all from inside the red zone.
Wow.
2 to the Chief.
2 to Chief.
2 to the Chief.
Who are the other two? 1 to Amari, 1 to DPJ.
No, I'm going to throw a shocker out there. David Bell.
David Bell.
David Bell. I like that take.
He's
I don't know. I mean, okay, yeah.
Ring the bell, baby. Four's back.
Does he have a touchdown with the Browns this season? I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Does he even have 100 receiving yards? Oh, he might even have 100 receiving yards.
We're gonna have to talk. What are now strategically for the Houston Texans? Because if you're looking at this offense, right? Because one of the things that the Browns can use to their advantage is no one has film on the Cleveland Browns with Deshaun Watson under center. No one.
Mm-hmm.
That's something. It doesn't matter if you were playing the Texans or you were playing the Buffalo Bills. It doesn't matter because no one has film on Deshaun Watson. So the Cleveland Browns can use that to their advantage. What are some of the tips if you were to help out Houston? So, we're kind on down with the Browns and the Packers.
Oh, boy.
I'm feeling very friendly. So we'll give them some tips and tricks on maybe what are some of the ways that you can stop this offense with Deshaun coming in. What are some ideas? I'm kind of curious. Grant, you can go first, and then Christian, and then Matty G. What are some ideas?
Well, on the inverse to your question, Manny, the Browns, as we've said, they're going to dominate this game. I doubt people might actually be frustrated with what they see out of Deshaun Watson because Kevin Stefanski, as much as I knock the guy, he's a smart man. I guarantee you he doesn't even open up 25% of the playbook with Deshaun Watson. If they can cruise through this game and control it by just giving the ball to Nick Chubb and letting Deshaun Watson ease his way back, you're exactly right. Hold off and open the playbook until you play somebody like Cincinnati or Baltimore where, you're going to have a harder time winning. I see no way they lose to the Texans. I'm going back and forth with myself all week long. There's no way they lose.
Yeah, thank you. Don't go back and forth. Don't do that to yourself. You know the vibes. You know what's going on.
Kevin Stefanski, he's a smart man. Like I said, you're not going to see much trickeration this week. I doubt it. Deshaun Watson has had 11 weeks to prepare for this game. He knows how bad the Houston Texans are. They're not going to open up that playbook a lot. And like I said, you might see some negative reactions. Even if they win the game by 10 points, people might be dragging their feet or being upset. But, guys, they're not going to get into really the Deshaun Watson era until you play these good teams.
Yep.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. And I think that people should understand that it won't – it might not look the way you want it to look. It's going to be a W. And I don't want to – sometimes it's like, oh, don't jinx yourself. It's going to be a W. I don't really – but just understand that that's going to be the case. Go ahead, Matty G. You want to say something? With
how bad that Texans run defense is, I could honestly see both Chubb and Hunt having over 100 yards.
Gives up the most points. Yeah. Most
exactly. I think that you're just going to see Grant's right. I think you're just going to see a lot of from Deshaun, like a lot of slants, maybe some timing routes, maybe a couple play action boots. Like you're not going to see many of the zone read options. You're not going to see many of like Deshaun keepers, design quarterback powers, that type of stuff. They're going to save that for Cincinnati and Baltimore. My 400-yard prediction, which I'm kind of backing away from a little bit because that's pretty lofty. I was thinking more just how bad the Texans defense is. I could see him completing a couple of long ones. I will say this: if I'm Kevin Stefanski, I'm calling a shot like first play of the game. Let Deshaun a little bit of confidence, throw a bomb like Anthony. Oh yeah. My cell phone service is terrible. Thank you for the heads up. But I would run that play like they did in Miami. First play of the drive to DPJ. And Jacoby completed too. It would have been I think with Watson, it would have been a touchdown. Jacoby threw that ball a few yards behind DPJ and DPJ to come back and get it. Throw that same play and see what happens. Give your quarterback a little bit of confidence.
That's actually a good point.
I did tell Nick this week earlier, I would not be surprised. It is kind of a bold prediction, but I would not be surprised if on the first play of the game, Deshaun Watson is under center with Nick Chubb behind him, fakes the handoff, rolls out, and just airs it out to Schwartz for 75 yards to see what happens. I think
me either.
As bad as Schwartz is, honest to God, I don't like him. I don't think he's good. As bad as he is, he's quick. And with a guy like Deshaun Watson, if he can just run straight down the field and have enough time to get under the ball, he's got to make one catch. And whether it's the first play of the game or not, I think we see him take a shot to Schwartz at some point in the game.
So like, who would even be covering him though? Because like, I have no idea who any of the MJ Stewart. Who they
Derek Stingley? Derek Stingley Jr. No,
I think he's
okay. He's
Amari.
gonna be on Amari. So like, I don't even know who'd be on Schwartz. So I could see that happening.
Steven Nelson.
Who?
Steven.
Who's their? I can't even tell you who their safeties are because they had Justin Reed, but he plays for the Chiefs now.
Yeah, they had Lonnie Johnson and Justin Reed because I remember that game last year.
Justin Reed doesn't play there anymore. He plays for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and Lonnie Johnson and
Jonathan Owens. MJ Stewart is on the Texans, but he's a backup strong safety depth chart wise. But Jonathan Owens and Jalen Petre. Yeah, exactly. Who? No, seriously. And
I think Jonathan Owens is most famous for being married to Simone Biles. I think that's his biggest accomplishment.
Yes,
so
that's
that tells you how good. Yeah, no, that tells you how good. How great that Texas defense is. That their most notable safety is married to Simone Biles. Yeah, no, this really when you go through that defense reminds me of something.
Play.
Oh yeah, my goodness! Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Stingley's questionable. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, but they can't lose this game. If they lose this game, I'm sorry. You have to start asking questions about the coaching staff if they somehow lose this game. Not to be that guy.
We're not going to talk about it because it's not going to happen. We only talk about dubs. Okay?
And I do want to say to Matty G's point, if they did lose, say they did lose.
Don't say it. Just don't talk about it.
Say they did lose.
I don't know. I don't even want to go there, Manny.
I can't put two neurons together to figure out the media outlash, the teams that are just going to be laughing. And to be honest with you, the weird thing is, it's not like we have been talking trash at all. I haven't been a very humble person this entire week. I haven't said a word about Houston. And so the fact that they're going to be talking so crazy, I don't know what you guys are looking at me, but so that's why I'm
sure
saying
about that.
Do I need to pull a clip from the last episode?
Do I need to pull up your screen name, Manny?
Yeah, I was just going to say, this is my screen.
Houston, we have a problem.
I think that like an L would be extremely detrimental, and especially how you get it. But you just cannot lose. You cannot lose. And I think that it's crazy and beyond the realm of possibility. But Christian, what are some of the ways that you would? I didn't get your interpretation of this. What are some of the ways that you would stop this Browns offense in this game? If you would.
Pre-game, I would just, if I was the Houston Texans in the locker room, I would just have a beautiful assortment of foods. So they get stuff. They take a little pregame snack,
They take a Lamar Jackson bathroom break.
No, you put laxative in it, and then just cause them to have the runs. So if they got the runs, they really can't play. So you'll see like guys like Jerome Ford taking Nick Chubb snaps. Kellen Mond might be out there for a little bit because the runs. I mean, when you got the runs, you won't be faking an injury like Lamar. That's
running to the bathroom.
Yeah, I mean,
they have. I in my opinion, one of the ways you have to stop the Cleveland Browns, I think is as much as possible. And this is, I'm not trying to be whatever, but if I were Houston, I would hype this game up and try to get into the psyche of Deshaun Watson.
They already are.
They already are, dude.
This is Houston's Super Bowl, 100%.
Exactly. Thank you, Grant. Thank you. That's what I'm trying to say. Like you need to players and stuff. Like you need to really mess with his, because
Tony Busby already is doing his best.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Well, I was just listen, and we can talk about it. You look at what Tony Busby, and if you're looking at the owners of the Texans and everything, they know that this is going to be their highest ticket sold game for this season, right? They're going to make a lot of money. They're going to make a lot of revenue. People coming into town, people trying to see this game,
right?
People, you know what I mean? A lot of Cleveland Browns fans are going to be coming down here. So I think that that's the way, if you were Houston, to say, hey, let's put a lot of pressure, not the team. It's not some like Super Bowl everything, but like it's one person that's making this like the Super Bowl, one individual. So if you put all of that pressure on him, you can make him have mistakes. You know what I mean? Mistakes can be made. And I think that that's one of the key things you need to do is stop the run and actually make Deshaun Watson pass. Really? Seriously.
See, I was thinking about that earlier too. Like, I mean, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Deshaun going into this game. I mean, Busby just kind of put a little extra on him, But that's what franchise quarterbacks do in these moments. Under pressure, under scrutiny, adversity's happening.
Yeah.
Franchise
Go out and
quarterbacks
perform.
find a way to win football games. And
They
that's
do.
what Cleveland's missing. 6, I mean, he just kind of added to the adversity. He had the charisma, but he didn't have what it had to be a franchise quarterback. That's why they went out and paid $230 million guaranteed to Ford for these moments.
Yeah, and so and now that I got everybody's, I'm sorry for all the questions, but I just something just popped in my head, a random off the cuff topic, but I want everybody's opinion on this, and just be really think about it before you answer. If Deshaun plays extremely well next season, do you think the NFL would give him the MVP as a quarterback if he plays extremely, extremely well? Because I just dawned on me that it would be an interesting situation if he is really balling out and the Browns are doing very well. And it's do you think the NFL would be okay with giving him the MVP award?
That's a good question, man.
Isn't it?
It's a tough question. No,
it's
a very good
super tough
question.
And I mean, I think like in some ways, yes. In some ways, no. I'm not really.
So is it just, are you saying just straight up Deshaun Watson stats are just insane, or the Cleveland Browns like 15-2, 14-3?
Well, I think
16-1, something like that.
If you're looking at MVP conversations, obviously this season, you would think that the team would have to be doing very well because Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa are in the MVP conversation, and Tua, the only reason Tua is good is because Mike McDaniel and Tyreek Hill are there because
right.
But that's the only reason I mean, let's be serious. Like, I mean, anybody outside of the Dolphins will tell you that. But I think that overall, I truly believe if he's lighting up, you kind of have to. You kind of have to just give it to him.
Manny, we got a great question on Twitter. Sorry to change the subject.
No, go ahead.
Who is that? I think that's Drew. Drew asked, does that mini helmet fit the rabbit?
Does this mini helmet fit the rabbit?
Yeah.
We're gonna find out in a few seconds.
Oh.
I might take him out.
All right. So we'll just
but
while we're answering that question, you do that.
Talk about you can answer the question and then we can go on to the defensive side of the ball and how we stop the Texans.
I'll be honest with you guys. I think next year the answer is probably no. We've already seen this across sports. Like in baseball, for example, Barry Bonds, like Roger Clemens, they're not allowed in the Hall of Fame because of steroids. Like, I mean, not allowed is a strong word, but I mean, they haven't been voted in. In 1995, Albert Bell of our Cleveland Indians, then Indians, I should say, hit 50 home runs and 50 doubles in the same season, in a shortened season, only 100 games, and he didn't win MVP. I think we've seen the media as a crew come together, and the media has media darlings, and also people they don't like. If you go across sports, there are athletes who are just portrayed in a negative light by the media. Like, for example, I think the biggest example that I can think of in the NFL, Richard Sherman, during his first few seasons with the Seahawks, like 2013, 2014, was a scapegoat for a lot of issues on the Seahawks. And I think you're going to see, especially with female media members, you're going to see Deshaun really, really struggle for votes. Because that's who it comes down to. It's not a fan voted award, not an executive voted award. It's by the Pro Football Writers of America.
Writers, yes. Yes. And I think he would have to. I think it's personally me. I think it's possible. I think it is possible, but the criteria and the level of play he would have to
much higher. Much higher.
Like me playing NCAA football 06, and I just had a creative player race for the Heisman, and I'm just dirty. Like I have like 6,000 yards passing for the season. So I think the criteria will be so high that I don't think that he'll win MVP, in my opinion.
Something that really interesting about the whole Deshaun Watson situation, and you can kind of tie it into the MVP talk just a little bit, is flashback to this past offseason before we got Deshaun Watson, right? Who were the top quarterbacks that were out there? And, I'm not trying to be this, woe is me, sorry Browns fan, but sometimes I think we all find ourselves feeling that the Cleveland Browns are cursed sometimes. I mean, we just do. That Amari Cooper dropped last week when we thought we were going to lose. I mean, Cooper doesn't drop passes. I mean, I think I tweeted that. But my point is, it's really hard for me to sit here and believe, going back to the offseason, Aaron Rodgers was available in talks, right? He stayed in Green Bay. Green Bay is bad. Aaron Rodgers having his worst year of his career. Look at Derek Carr. We talked about Derek Carr. He stayed put.
Awful.
He's been terrible. Look at Russell Wilson. He was in talks. Look with all these superstar quarterbacks that were supposed to, be available and, only one of them went places. They're all terrible. And you're telling me that the Cleveland Browns are the team that got lucky enough to land the only one? I find it hard to believe, and that's why I can't wait for this thing to get rolling because, again,
talk.
Seeing is believing.
I do think the NFL would give Watson MVP. I really do because, everybody has their own personal opinion on, Deshaun Watson and the off-the-field stuff. But at the end of the day, when people get in trouble, they get punished. They do the required steps to get back into the league. They serve their time. Deshaun Watson did all of this. At some point, the NFL is just going to have to, quote unquote, move on and accept the fact that he is in the NFL. Yeah. And quite frankly, he is going to be a face of the NFL if the Cleveland Browns are as good as they should be with him.
That's a very, very good point.
It's a very good point. And to kick you off of Grant, one thing I remember reading this when Tiger Woods won the Masters in 2019, and I think this applies to the situation. What do people love to watch more than someone absolutely fail and embarrass themselves?
Comeback stories.
Redemption stories. That's the most think about every movie that's come out, every
Rocky.
Artist who's come back, everything. People love redemption and comeback stories. And if you can turn this, Watson going from, this evil creep into, he's a great quarterback. He's already getting involved in the community. I had heard that he's paying, Grant, you might know more about this than I would. He's paying for every student in Cleveland City Public Schools to have free meals. He's covering all their lunches or something like that. So, the Cleveland City schools, that's hundreds of kids. That's thousands of kids. That's 60, 70,000 students that he's paying for. That's not cheap. If he starts doing stuff like that, then the NFL can really, we kind of saw it a little bit with Big Ben, but you can kind of really turn this into, look, this guy's now the face of the league. He turned his life around. So, Grant brings up a great point there.
Yeah.
That's true. Christian, do you have a comment on that or?
Well, yeah, I think I don't know about next year, but you don't know how the whole image of Deshaun Watson's going to change between now and then either. Right. He could be, a lot of people could forget because, there's a lot of stories I know Kareem Hunt there for a little bit when all that stuff happened with him right off the rip, everybody's like, oh, da-da-da-da-da. And like you just said, you forgot.
Yeah, I forgot about it. Literally, someone reminded me about it last week and I literally had forgotten about it, but because Grant, you can back me up on this because you're the only one who lives in this area. I would say Watson's approval rating from the trade in March was 50-50. Now I'd say it's risen to 75-25. Now I know numerous people who in my circle who were very anti-trade who are now kind of have gotten over it. Grant, I know you know more people than me, so I kind of want your thoughts on that. It feels like his approval rating has risen already in the city of Cleveland and in our surrounding areas.
I would definitely agree with that. He hasn't. I think the outrage of him not speaking to the media yesterday was pretty over the top.
Yes,
he did what he needed to do today. Yeah. He's taken all. Like I said, I just said it a couple minutes ago. He's taken all the right steps while he's been suspended for 11 weeks, and even now. But yeah, I agree with you, Matt. I think his approval rate is definitely going up, and it's just going to take him going on the field and performing at the same time, him getting involved in the community. I have heard, I do expect for him to do a lot of stuff in the community this offseason as well as into next season. Yeah. And then things are really going to start looking up for him. So, if he can just keep his head down and, stay low key right now and just go win the Browns football games these last 6 weeks, then he set himself up for, a potential great run in Cleveland the rest of his time here.
And Jeff just said, as somebody who also lives in Cleveland, most Browns fans I know are completely fine with Watson on the Browns now.
Hey, shout out to Jeff for that.
I think.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, sorry. Last thing I'll say about this. Yeah, I think that's the one thing I think that's been interesting. And other thing I thought was cool is how it sounds like that based on his press conference that he stayed in the area during his suspension. I know we saw Week 3 of the Steelers, there was that clip of him practicing at the Crusher Stadium.
Yeah.
But I think that's cool. And, that was a good chance for him to go out and be in the community. Like, he's got to go grocery shopping. He's got to go out to eat. He's got to do stuff with his friends or his girlfriend. He's going to go out and see, like, Clevelanders. It was a good way for him to build his reputation.
He was at the Rod Wave concert at the Wolstein Center with Amari Cooper the other day.
Oh, he was.
Hey.
Was he really?
Yeah.
I'll be completely honest. I have no idea who Rod Wave is.
What? All right.
We'll put you on it.
All right. So
Yeah,
Matty G's been
banned.
kicked. He's been banned.
So I kind of wanted to get into, a little bit, slightly in a weird way. Now that I have Grant, I can ask you this question because I haven't been able to ask you this question at all, Grant. But so if the Browns go 5-1, 6-0, Tyvis Powell kind of talked about this on the Ultimate Cleveland show, and I've been saying that ad nauseum on this show. So you guys can, Christian and Matty G, you can please give your your inputs too. But can the Cleveland Browns, if the Cleveland Browns do go 5-1, 6-0, or I guess at this point, because we beat the Buccaneers 7-0, but if we do have 6-0 and go 6-0 with Deshaun Watson or 5-1, do you think that this becomes an attractive destination for free agents? Because Tyvis Powell kind of talked about this in 2017 when Jimmy G got there, and I forgot who their starting quarterback at the time was. He got injured, and then all of a sudden Jimmy G comes in, throws a touchdown, and then they do really well, and they finish off their season. They will go from not a 1-10 to, and then they win 5 straight. So it's it's what's kind of the vibes that you think that does this become a free agent destination for the Browns if they do go 6-0, 5-1?
Absolutely. We were just talking about this on the Sports Parlor a couple weeks ago. If they go 5-1 or 6-0, I think before even getting into that, I think everybody already knows, obviously us as fans and people who, talk about the team, right? Yeah. We didn't expect 4-7. Let's be completely honest. We probably, and it's fair at this point, seeing how the first 11 games went, you can make a very, very strong one that they should be 7-4, the complete opposite. They should have lost to the Jets. Yes. They should have beat the Chargers. They should have beat the Ravens. They should have beat the Falcons. There's so many games they should have won. I think everybody on the outside expected them to have a better record. The Cleveland Browns know, as hard as a pill as this is to swallow for myself and some other people, this season really doesn't matter. If Deshaun Watson runs the table and it's a miracle run, amazing. But the goal here was it was almost like, I forget who said it. Somebody, I think it was a tweet. It's like one big preseason, right? All these guys are getting reps. I know Myles Garrett's had some interesting quotes, in the locker room, and some of these other players. John Johnson, kiss you goodbye. He's gone. He's not coming back next year. Yep. But yeah, there will be people that want to come to Cleveland if they go 5-1 or 6-0. People know that the Browns don't really have, obviously they don't have first-round draft picks. Right. It's a lot harder to land talent in the draft. I've raised some question marks on Andrew Berry and his ability to draft. Right. The only way they're going to improve is through free agents and, removing some of these guys like John Johnson, who I believe is like a $9 million cap hit next year, and bringing in other guys. They're still going to have money. And I definitely think, if they look really good and beat Cincinnati and beat Baltimore, people are going to want to come here next year 100% because if they do go 5-1 and 6-0, I will go on quote and on the record saying this. I've said it before. The expectation for the Browns next year will be to get to the AFC Championship 100%.
Yep, 100%.
And to be honest with you, to piggyback off of what you're saying, I think the expectation should be. I don't think that that's a bad expectation at all because you think about Jakeem Grant coming back. We don't even have Jakeem Grant for the entire season. Nick Harris, that's going to be a battle for center. I don't know if Ethan Posick is going to. We don't have the battle out there. They're going to both be in training camp. To be honest with you, so I think Anthony Walker is a captain in the linebacker room. So I think honestly, there's a lot to go into this. And we haven't been able to see the Cleveland Browns at full strength. And at that point, nobody's healthy. But to not get Jakeem Grant at all the entire season, and that's
I don't think we'll see Grant. I don't think Grant's coming back.
I think he'll see him. I think he'll see him.
Hold on.
Because it's special teams.
Explain that, Matty. You don't explain that. Explain that. Why not?
He has a solid cap hit that can get out of that structure. Do you need him at this point? Jerome Ford's proven he's a good returner. DPJ's trying to figure out the punt return game. I would rather work with what you got on the roster right now. Jerome Ford has become a weapon in the punt return in the kick return game against Buffalo and against Tampa. He gave them some great field position that led to scoring drives. And DPJ on Sunday, he had a couple kicks where he turned it to the opponent's side of the field. I don't want to invest money where you already have guys developing. Most likely you're going to have a new special teams coordinator who knows what the hell he's doing too, which will help. And also to kind of piggyback on what like you and Grant were talking about, I think you've already seen the Watson effect in Cleveland free agents. Biggest example, granted he hasn't been huge this year, Jadeveon Clowney. He said he wasn't coming back. He said he was going to follow Watson. He was going wherever Watson was going. He was going to go to Atlanta. Well, where is Jadeveon Clowney? He's been wearing brown and orange this year, and that's because of Deshaun Watson. Granted, Clowney hasn't been 2021 Clowney, but still, instead of seeing Clowney out there with Miles, we have to get to watch dear old Alex Wright. Thank God I don't have to watch that as much.
The reason, real quick, Christian, the reason I just want to disagree with the Jakeem Grant thing. First and foremost, if Anthony Schwartz in the next 6 games, if he doesn't produce and has a fantastic time like Grant was talking about, then first and foremost, you can use Jakeem Grant in that role because again, you don't really need him to do as much as Anthony Schwartz, which is essentially really, besides that reverse, really wasn't anything up until that point. I think you haven't even seen Jakeem Grant take a preseason punt return, let alone any we haven't even seen him at all.
That's fair.
That's the thing.
That's fair. But he's the cap hit though. The cap hit. I mean,
I believe he'll restructure if the Browns go 5-1. He'll restructure.
You get
Super Bowl, Browns.
But here's the thing is, Manny, with the restructure, one of the things that I think annoys me the most is how a restructure works. You're not just creating cap out of the sky. You're borrowing from future years to now. So, for example, let's say that you restructure Jakeem Grant. I think he's making $8 million next year. So let's restructure that all to a signing bonus. So what's going on? It's not going to hit this year. You're going to take that $8 million. You're going to divide it by $5 million. Now, boom, you're paying Jakeem Grant for 5 years in a row. Why would you waste that money on Jakeem Grant right now? Because the restructuring, and this is what frustrates me the most. I'm not trying to sound like Jack Duffin. You're not creating cap. You're borrowing from next year. That's why Sashi Brown, that's why I think he's a very underrated GM. The point of the Kenny Brick deal was not to win football games. It was to get the Browns to the salary floor, the minimum amount of salary that they needed to carry to roll that cap forward. That's why in 2020, you saw Barry keep all those gobs and gobs of cap space because they knew they were going to have to borrow in the future. So why would you waste that money on Jakeem freaking Grant?
Because he's a Pro Bowl returner.
Because he'll offer something on that third part of the like a football team
and
that
you
we
don't
have not had for a very long time.
You don't have to risk DPJ getting hurt on punt returns. He's a Pro Bowl returner. He has multiple seasons with multiple touchdowns. We've not had a touchdown return since Travis Benjamin. Am I correct?
That's
on the
true.
punt return?
Yeah, against the Titans. I think.
He's had 3-4 in the last 3 years. So, I mean, that brings another element to the game for the Browns, and he can constantly put you in good position.
It depends on what you use that money for. But go ahead, Grant.
That's true.
Staying on the topic of restructuring, if the Browns do really good in the next year or two and fall, just short, you all know who restructure his contract, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He will.
Absolutely, he will.
100%. Deshaun Watson will restructure. If they fall short for a couple years, he will restructure, and you will see some of these top free agents come to Cleveland and get a Super Bowl. 100%.
Oh yeah,
like you saw Von Miller go to the Bills. I guess my biggest question, then my concern, and maybe this is the pessimist in me, are we sure Deshaun Watson is staying here after his 5-year extensions, after his 5-year contract stuff? Do you think the Browns will give him the bag? Or do you think he'll take off, go to warmer pastures after and use use Cleveland to freshen up his ego, and maybe Deshaun Watson will go play in New Orleans, Tampa, Atlanta, one of those NFC South teams?
I'll say it depends on how good the Cleveland Browns are in those 5 years. It solely depends on that. Because if you see that we go to the AFC Championship, if we win the division for the first time and we start to get, a lot of media attention that way, and we start to win the division a couple of years in a row, we go to the AFC Championship, and then we go to a Super Bowl potentially. And if we go to a Super Bowl and it's year 4 or 5, and he has to decide if he wants to come back, if you go to a Super Bowl, you're not going to just jump ship and then go to another team unless you think it's going downhill from there. And that's the peak of how well you guys can do. But I truly believe that he will sign back depending on how good the Cleveland.
So next year his cap hit is just $3 million. Almost 4.
If he wins us, the Browns could go 0-17 for 4 years. If he wins us one Super Bowl, he'll be gone after 5 years.
Yes.
I 100%. And that's all right. That's all we need out of this contract.
Yes.
The Haslams put all of their eggs in one basket, and that basket on the front of it in big bold letters says Deshaun Watson. If we do not win a Super Bowl with him, the Cleveland Browns, I hate to break it to you guys, it's going to be ugly. Again, the expectation isn't just to compete, guys. I think you all know this too. You guys are all really good. You're really smart. They have to win a Super Bowl in that first 5 years of this contract. 100%. They just have to.
Yep. And
sure.
and I think that they're in a position to do. To be honest with you, I think they're in a position to do so long term, especially looking at the division and the competition that we'll be going up against. At minimum, we'll be making the playoffs and winning the division.
And going back to your question, Manny, on like how attractive if we do finish out the season like 5-1, 6-0 for next year, free agents. I think that not only like it'll be an appetizing or just a good spot for wide receivers. You're going to see offensive linemen want to come here and block for Watson. Because, I mean, next year, Jack Conklin's not coming back. They're not going to offer him back.
OBJ, baby. OBJ.
Oh, man, I would love that.
I mean, Jarvis Landry is also a free agent, too.
No. I don't mean that OBJ. You're thinking the wrong OBJ.
Orlando Brown Jr.
Orlando Brown Jr., baby. He's better than Jed Wills.
I was asked today if Jed Wills was willing to walk, would you take Orlando Brown Jr.? I was asked that today.
Do you think they would move him to the right side before they do that? See, they'd let him walk.
Jed Wills has been bad this year, but I don't think he's been as bad as what people have made him out to be.
Agreed.
I like to, when I'm going through stuff on myself, I like to compare. Obviously, we haven't seen the Browns with Watson, and going back to Manny makes a great point. They're not building themselves to just win a Super Bowl, but again, Manny makes a great point. They're going to be good for a long time, and I like to compare us to the Chiefs. Start at the quarterback position, all right? Deshaun Watson is probably not as good as Patrick Mahomes, but he's damn near close, right?
Yes.
Go to running back. Yes. We are way better than them at running back, right?
Yes.
Go to receiver. I mean, the Browns are probably right there with them at receiver. I mean, we probably have we definitely have a better tight end. Or we don't have a better tight end. Excuse me, Travis Kelce. We do not have a better tight end. We do not have a better tight end. But in terms of receivers, we probably are right there with them.
Yeah.
And then look at the offensive line. Who has a better offensive line?
We do.
The Browns or the Chiefs. Then go to the defense. Their defense isn't great. We have Myles Garrett. They don't have a Myles Garrett. Their secondary is better than ours, but the rosters are pretty comparable. And if the Browns and Deshaun Watson can just do his thing, the Chiefs have been right on the brink of the Super Bowl for the past how many years? The Browns have the potential to be right there with them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So if we're going to talk about like this like Watson window, what do we any of us think there's a chance he's back after this contract is over? I mean, he keeps saying like, oh, I'm going to spend the rest of my career here, yada, 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 yada. I just don't see a way. I want to think Deshaun Watson's going to retire a Cleveland Brown. Just have a hard time seeing it, man.
So before we get to the next 5 years, let's just talk about the rest of the season. So I got a question on that, actually. Which wide receiver do you think will just jump the most with Deshaun Watson on the field on this current roster for the rest of the year?
I hope Anthony Schwartz. I think Anthony Schwartz. I think that finally having a court. I think that you really just need Anthony Schwartz to just do and mimic Tyreek Hill, just have a huge like a 15-yard post, and then just have him over the middle of the field or somewhere. Just escape your defender, one-on-one in man coverage or whatever. Just outrun him, and then finally you have a quarterback who hopefully can throw him the ball, a deep ball that's accurate enough to just lay it in his hands and in stride, so that all he has to do is outrun his defender. Like there's no, you see it right now with Tyreek Hill. Like honestly, that's all you need. That is all you need. Is just a quarterback with that much speed to get the ball in his hands in open space. And I think that there's a lot of times where we weren't able to do that. That's why we had to use him in reverses or screens or stuff like that. But let him run in open field. And we saw it finally. He's extremely fast.
I like your comparison to Tyreek Hill, but I'm gonna dial that back a little bit for Schwartzy. I think he's the Browns version of Will Fuller. I think Will Fuller, Watson's rookie year, is a very good comparison for Schwartz. Because remember, I don't remember the exact stat off the top of my head before Deshaun tore his ACL that season. I want to say Will Fuller had 17 catches, and 7 of those were for touchdowns. They were all over 40 yards. I think you're going to see that from Anthony Schwartz with Watson.
Yeah.
I don't think the pass catcher on the Browns that takes the biggest jump plays wide receiver. I think David Njoku
Jeep.
really takes the next step.
Mhm.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
Deshaun Watson in Houston made
Wow.
average tight ends look amazing. I mean,
Yeah, Darren
and
Fowles.
David Njoku might catch 10 to 12 touchdowns next season in a full year. I mean, once you get in the red zone, Amari Cooper is Amari Cooper. You can get on the 5-yard line and throw a fade, and, probably 6-7 times out of 10 he's going to catch it. But you get to that 5-10-yard line, you're telling me you can run a run-pass option with Chubb in the backfield and have a guy like David Njoku leak out in the end zone. He's going to catch a lot of touchdown passes, and his production is going to go up a lot.
Yep.
I'll also
I totally
add
agree
Pharaoh
with that.
Brown to that. I'll add Pharaoh Brown to that. I don't think my hot take. I don't think Harrison Bryant's gonna be on the roster next season. That's my hot take.
You hate Harrison Bryant, bro. What did he do to you?
I just don't think.
You just hate him.
I just don't think he's that good.
You just hate him.
That's a hot take. If
That's what
they wouldn't give up Pharaoh. They wouldn't give up Bryant to keep Pharaoh Brown. There's no way.
I think he had to not give Matty G an autograph or just brush him off in public. Something happened. 88 did something to Matty G, and we got to get to the bottom of this. We got to find out.
I want to quickly go back to your question, Matty G, about serious. I mean, we've talked about it, I feel like, but seriously thinking that Deshaun Watson stays after 5 years. Look, you could say that about Amari Cooper. I don't even know. You could say if Amari Cooper gone after this year. You can fine. I can maybe believe that. Jadeveon Clowney, I can maybe believe that.
That's what it is.
And he's definitely
He's
definitely he looks like somebody stole his girlfriend in high school. Had to be something crazy. But Deshaun Watson would have after 5 years. I actually do see a place in a way where he does stay, and it's not. And it's hard for me to say oh, well, he's going to stay because Cleveland was the one who took the chance on it. Well, there was 14 other teams that wanted to take the chance on him, actually.
13 other teams.
So it can't be really that. But I do believe that, there's something about Cleveland that 5 years is a long time. It's a long enough time to make that place your home. He was in Houston for 4, and he has charities and everything in there. And he already said it in his presser today that Houston, he still loves Houston. He still has people down there, still has a house down there. So I think that he'll be sentimental about it. It might sound, but it still it depends on how well the Browns are doing.
Well, you just said 5 years is a long time. Just look at this. 5 years ago, where were we? We were still talking about. We were talking about Baker Mayfield 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah. Grant.
Yep. Yeah. All righty.
No way.
All right. No, Grant.
Mr. Freeze.
Well,
before
I'm screenshotting that.
Yeah.
Actually, it's pretty impressive how still he's staying right now.
That's actually very impressive.
This is pretty impressive.
Listen, I gotta ask this question. While Grant is frozen. So weather.
How cold is it up there?
Now, with the weather though, because we've been talking about Deshaun, and that was my number one knock on Deshaun, why he would not come to Cleveland was because of the weather. He has never played a cold weather home game in his entire human being life, from Gainesville all the way to South Carolina, to Clemson, and he didn't play. Hey, what's good? Oh wait,
I got booted. I just got completely booted. I don't know what.
No, dude, you just froze.
You just froze.
So funny.
It was funny.
I apologize.
No.
You're good, buddy.
Go ahead. Go. Say what you want to say, because I also want to get your input on the question I was about to ask. But go ahead, Grant. You were saying something before you.
So this might, bring a little lengthy conversation, and I like playing devil's advocate. Nobody's talking about it, and we're talking about 5 years is a long time for him to be good. And Matty G, Manny, Christian, you guys all know I from the beginning was off the Baker train and on a Deshaun Watson train before anybody else. I'm one of Deshaun Watson's biggest fans.
Yep.
But what if he sucks? What if he's bad?
You're right. Cleveland 22, baby.
What we thought he was going to be. Then you will see Nick Chubb be traded away, Myles Garrett be traded away, Denzel Ward. You got to get your first round picks back. Again, I don't even want to talk about it, but at the same time, somebody at some point has to talk about what if he isn't good when he comes back? The Browns will be set back for another 10 years.
I think they'll point that more on the head coach. If he just comes out and just sucks, I think they'll use Kevin Stefanski as
they would get rid
of
Stefanski before giving up on the experiment completely. But
what if he sucks? I mean, I
don't even think about it, man. Like,
listen,
I know
he's right.
Let's have fun.
Warmed up to it.
This is a beautiful question because it's a thought experiment that is such a good thought experiment that no one has asked, and I think that I don't know if we need to clip this or tweet it or whatever, but I think it's a great question. Seriously thinking about it, the number one thing we have to think about is what is the definition of sucks? Because are we talking about Zach Wilson sucking? Are we talking about Baker Mayfield? Like are we talking about Jacoby Brissett? Is Jacoby Brissett's ceiling? And not the mobility of Deshaun? Like, what are we that's my first question, and then I'll give you kind of the answer, I guess, Grant. Like, what do you mean by like is he trash? Like, is he is he garbage?
Not trash, but the Cleveland Browns are an organization where Watson has to be 2020 Deshaun Watson to win a Super Bowl. Like, he just has to be.
Yes.
I mean, look at Brissett. I mean, he's putting up top 5, top 10 quarterback numbers, and they're 4-7.
4-7. That's a
exactly.
That's a great point.
Has to be. I mean, again, obviously, being able to be a mobile quarterback automatically makes you better because today I believe
exactly. That's what I was going to say.
But at the end of the day, I'm trying to think of a comparison right now. Zach Wilson is really bad. I don't think he'll be that bad, but what if
Kirk Cousins?
His legs aren't what they used to be? I get it. He's still young. He's 26. Just chance. He never really hits his full stride like he did in 2020 with the Browns. 2 years is a long time for anybody to take off.
Scary.
If he doesn't hit his full stride and full potential, again, average won't get the Browns where they want to be. Above average is what Jacoby Brissett I would describe him as, and that's not getting the Browns where they need to be. He needs to be top 5. Mahomes, Burrow, he needs to be there, and if he's not, then the whole contract. I mean, if they're just making the playoffs every year, that's not what they signed him to do and traded for him to do.
If he's so, and I'll answer really quickly. If he's above average for the 6 games, nobody gets fired. It's fine. If he's above average next year, Kevin Stefanski will get fired after next year. If he continues to be above average, the technically third year after that season, I do believe that's where everybody's like, oh shoot, everybody has to be traded. Where you're talking about, which is, it hurts my heart to talk about. Seriously, it really does. But like Myles Garrett has to go, which Nick Chubb, and I don't even know at that point will you get Nick Chubb price for Nick Chubb in 3 years? Right. You might not. So in order to get your first round picks, you got to start giving up these really, really young guys.
In 3 years, is Nick Chubb going to be Nick Chubb? He's going to fall off a cliff. Look at the NFL leading rushers from 2018 and now. None of them are the same. I hate being that guy, but
except the only caveat is usage. Nick Chubb has better usage than all of them because we
they'll give you an extra year. Maybe. So, but here's the thing, Manny, I hate being this way, but I said this last year. Last year being such a critical failure hurts this window so badly because last year was the year you were supposed to make that jump into being a Super Bowl contender. Yes. Last year, such a complete failure, and then the Watson suspension this year. 2023 for most teams would be when you start to consider this window closing. I hate to be that guy, but Nick Chubb's Kareem Hunt's basically useless at this point. He's not even close to 2020 Kareem Hunt.
No.
Miles has been injured, which you were due to have happen. And the young defense, Delpit's improved, but he's not been what he was supposed to be. JOK's not been great this year. Newsome went from having a very stellar rookie year as an outside corner to now being an at best average slot corner. If you look around this, 21 can't stay on the field. 21's career might be over if he gets one more concussion. I'm honestly surprised he's even still playing right now. Once you get to that concussion number 4, let's be honest, that's what did Luke Kuechly in. Let's be completely honest. Once you start getting the concussion number 4,
I'll stop. Yeah, I'll stop. I think it's
like
it is such. It is such a beautiful question, and I think it's a hard question to ask on Twitter because I think that everybody who was very pro, like pro Watson would say it's hard, fathomable to think about, and everybody who is anti Watson would say, "Oh, you got to blow the whole thing up. Oh, look at Andrew Berry, he's so stupid." No one will answer the question honestly and like really think about it.
I compare it to the Baker Mayfield situation. Like I said, I'm not here to say I was right because I couldn't care less, but I was originally throwing out there, what if he isn't the franchise quarterback? Like people didn't believe it. So it goes back to the same thing. Like if Deshaun Watson isn't what Deshaun Watson needs to be, we're in trouble. And Manny, you're exactly right. I mean, you've been spot on this whole time. It's really the next, this next 6 games, it is what it is, but it's next season and the year after that. If he's average next year, Kevin Stefanski will go 100%. But, you have to get your picks back somehow. I mean, you can't get your money back, but if you're if he's not good, you're gonna have to just have a fire sale, and that would set the Browns back, another 5-10 years.
5 years. Yeah.
My thoughts on that though, like honestly, if you know Watson's not him, here in about 2 to 3 years, the cap's gonna keep it's gonna keep going up.
Yeah.
Is that gonna just kind of be like a mid contract though? Because you go back and look at the Patty Mahomes. You look at that and you're like, oh my God, why are they paying him that contract? And now it's like, what is it? Like not even top 5 now? Like a highest paid?
I think it's 5 or 6.
We'll see. It's 5 or 6.
It was just like you're like, oh my God, you're really paying a guy that much money to play quarterback.
Stafford got that. No. I mean that's true. I mean, here's the other thing is Jimmy and D, say what you will about them, they are absolutely loaded. I can tell you as someone who works in the finance industry, their net worths can do nothing but skyrocket with a couple of their recent business deals they've made. Yeah. They're going to have the money to pay Watson. They might just write Watson an offer he can't refuse. I mean, there's nothing that speaks louder than money in sports. I mean, if you're like Deshaun Watson,
to keep him,
yeah. Let's say like to get back to. Let's say that he is good, and it's like the team around him isn't great. They might just write a giant check. But I think Grant brings up a good point. There is a very realistic scenario where Watson isn't what he used to be. 2 years off. I mean, maybe he lost it. Like I hate being this way, but let's look at Russell Wilson's been awful this year, and Rodgers been awful this year. Derek Carr's been awful this year.
Russell Wilson's different though. Russell Wilson.
I think a lot of that's the scheme.
Russell Wilson is the most amazing system quarterback that has ever played in the NFL.
Look at the talent around him, though. Yeah, look at the talent around him
in Denver. In Denver.
He does have good wide receivers.
In Denver compared to when he won the Super Bowl. When he won the Super Bowl with Seattle.
When he won the Super Bowl, I get what you're saying.
But Seattle was
okay. So Manny. You're telling me that you'd rather have Doug Baldwin. You're telling me you'd rather have Doug Baldwin and Golden Tate over Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler, and Jerry Jeudy?
Right now, presently constructed, I'm talking about defense helps out Russell Wilson a lot. That's number one.
I'm talking about his weapons. I'm talking about weapons here. You cannot tell me the Seahawks.
Compared that to Seattle with DK Metcalf?
You said when Seattle won the Super Bowl, let's not move the goalposts here.
Okay.
You said when Seattle won the Super Bowl, so you're going to tell me that offense was better than what he has?
Marshawn Lynch. That's all you got to say, and that just makes it
Jerry Jeudy.
I'd rather have Javonte Williams in that version of Marshawn Lynch.
Javonte Williams is injured, and also Jerry Jeudy. So he doesn't fully have all of his weapons for the full season. That's number one. So that's 2 people right there. But so if you give Russell Wilson his full weapons and then a system that I believe Russell Wilson next year will be better in Denver, but right now it's just very frustrating because he doesn't have a very likable personality and the system it doesn't fit.
Yeah, did you try the Danger Witch yet?
No, I did not. But
from Subway.
I try to stay away from the word danger. I'm dangerous now.
Yeah, right. Go ahead, Grant. What were you gonna say?
Going back to what Matt G is saying, I really the whole window thing, guys. I really don't think even the Haslams they've already pressed the panic button. Giving Deshaun Watson 5 years, $203 million is pressing the panic button.
Yes,
and next year you might see the Browns pull what the Rams did last year and go all in. Mid-season. Look what the Rams did. They traded for Matt Stafford and went all in on one single season.
Congratulations, you got it.
If the Browns start, 5-0 next year, 6-1, you could see them push all of their chips into next season And if again, guys, if they win a Super Bowl next year, it's over. The 5 years is already a success.
Yes.
Again, they're already in the panic stage, and if next year they realize, like, holy shit, Deshaun Watson is him, and he's really good, they'll press the panic button again and spam it until they have all the pieces required. Like, they will go all in.
They will go all in.
Can I throw out a name? I throw out a name for trades that I think is really intriguing for this time next year.
Go ahead.
Like Grant just said, DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
If the Cardinals keep flying, and we're talking about them going in, his contract's up after 2023.
And D-Hop's
the Cardinals might be willing to deal.
Hear me out.
D-Hop's 33 too, so he wouldn't mind.
I think it happens like this offseason. If they're going to trade for D-Hop, I think they go get him this offseason. Because you got to think the Kyler situation, he might want out.
You're talking offense, but what if Watson goes 5-1 and the Browns go get a Jesse Bates in the offseason?
Jesse Bates.
Down.
How about bring Jordan Poyer home?
I would love D-Hop. D-Hop is the man, but they got to get defense. And like how
they do. No, I was talking about that. I was talking about Grant that trade at the trade deadline, not in the offseason. I was talking like at the trade deadline, but like maybe like another guy in the offseason. And Carolina said they wouldn't deal him, and I don't know if they have the assets to get him. I would love Brian Burns next to Myles Garrett, or even if we want to go from the Carolina well, maybe Derek Brown, maybe even I don't know if they trade him, maybe CJ Henderson.
Ooh, CJ, that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea.
Not only is there a lot of pressure on him just to be good, but there's a lot of pressure on him in the last 6 games. Again, I know I keep saying it is what it is, but like. This is also, I guarantee you the Hasels have told Deshaun Watson, this is also, you're auditioning for all this talent to want to come here. Like, if you want Clowney back, Watson's got to be good if Clowney wants to come back. Watson's average, Clowney's not going to come back. So,
that's such a good point.
Even if they lose to the Bengals, if you lose one more, your season is probably over. It's not over yet, but you can't get in with a loss. So, if they go 5-1, it's all about just, playing your cards right, because it really is. It's more than just the Browns went out and signed a superstar. It is a very, very, very unique situation, and that is why I wanted to bring all these questions to the table for you guys, because I feel like, I'm not trying to be negative, but at the same time, devil's advocate in a situation like this that is so crazy is almost required, because everything's on the table.
At the end of the day, we do root for the Browns.
Yes.
We've seen worse stuff happen.
Exactly.
Like last year, none of us thought we were not going to make the playoffs. None of us thought we were going to go 8-9 with that roster.
No,
we did not think OBJ was going to be gone mid-season either.
I told Grant when he went to in the 2021 offseason, Grant went to Vegas. I told him to put $200 on Baker to win the MVP for me, just to kind of tell you where I was at. So.
I did not.
Yeah, he did not.
Good. I'm glad you did not.
I did not. When I was in Vegas, I put money on the Browns, but we saw how that went. So it was probably one of the biggest wastes of money in my life. But here we are with Deshaun Watson. So I will say that wasting money was probably worth it. So,
yes.
Hear me out.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time and stop Sashi Brown from making the move to trade back and just take Deshaun Watson in 2017, would you do it?
No.
That's a very good.
No, question. I would have gotten Patty Mahomes. Like if
Patty Mahomes would have 10.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At 11.
How much time do we have left? I got another question, guys. If we have time. How much time do we have left?
We ain't got.
We got as much time as we want.
Awesome. So this brings a great point. What are your guys' thoughts on? I'm really curious on. People like to say, if the Browns would have drafted Josh Allen wouldn't be Josh Allen. So to Manny's point, if the Browns would have drafted Patrick Mahomes, would he be Patrick Mahomes? I want to get your guys' thoughts on that. Manny, I'll start with you, because I think you're making an argument for both sides. So I'm interested to hear what you guys thought.
No, and I'm gonna say, yo, Nick.
What's up, Nick?
Good. I'm gonna say, if you would have drafted talent, would talent still be talent? And the answer is yes. It doesn't matter where you go, talent is still talent. Now, you might not be able to see said talent in a certain situation, but that doesn't take away from the talent being talent. So same thing with Lamar Jackson. Would Lamar Jackson have been Lamar Jackson on the Browns? He still would have done that, but Lamar Jackson did get drafted to a great situation, so his team was better. Your team might be better, or your team might be worse, but Patrick Mahomes, got put into a fantastic situation with the Chiefs because they were a very good team with Alex Smith. But then all of a sudden he just got inherited a playoff team. And I think location does matter for that fact, but the talent just doesn't go away. I completely, I know Matty G might already disagrees with me, but it doesn't mean that person just all of a sudden not talented. It's clearly he is talented.
Yeah, you can say, there's talent there, but it doesn't mean, but talent needs to be molded. Pat Mahomes was the rawest prospect there was. Like, I think you got to understand that, like,
Cam. What's up, Cam?
I think you got to understand that Hugh Jackson would not have been able to develop Patrick Mahomes in the quarterback that he is, that Andy Reid is. Because keep in mind, Patrick Mahomes did not play his rookie season until the last game of the year. He had his first start. Yeah. He sat behind Alex Smith and learned. In Cleveland, he would have beat out Brock Osweiler in a phony training camp battle. Brock Osweiler would have been cut. Then his backup would have been a second-year quarterback, and his third stringer would have been a second-year quarterback. Yeah. He would have had no one to lean on. So you can have all the talent in the world, but if you have nobody to mold you. Look at Josh Gordon. I know you can say look at Josh Gordon, Manny. I know you can say off the field issues, mental health issues, yada yada yada. But there is nobody on the Browns to support him. Imagine if he started his career in New England and went into the Patriots culture, went into Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh culture. Culture matters. Nature.
So my rabbit's going crazy. Myles Garrett, right? One of the best pass rushers in the league right now. So is this just the culture of the Browns that we know how to fantastically do really good things with Myles Garrett? No, Myles Garrett was talented. We didn't do anything with Myles Garrett. He is a extremely talented guy on the team. If you would have said an offensive lineman like Wyatt Teller coming over from Buffalo and coming over here, Callahan has something to do with that. But with Myles Garrett, he's just talented. So that's why I'm trying to push back on that and say, if we just would have gotten to Patrick Mahomes, maybe it would have, because Baker Mayfield,
quarterback is different.
Talented, but he got quarterback is different when he was here because we thought he was talented. What do you say?
Quarterback is different, Manny. And the thing is let's also, do you want me to rip the Band-Aid off? Myles was not good his rookie year. Myles struggled. He struggled.
Again, and Josh Allen also struggled with Buffalo. Is that rookie stuff, or is that talent just trying to get game speed to NFL game speed ready? NFL working out conditions.
And we had a new line coach. And we had a new defensive line coach brought in Miles' rookie year. Sophomore year, if I remember correctly. But what I'm trying to say, Manny, is that we can look at all the different talented quarterbacks. Like, for example, let's look at one that's odd right now. Geno Smith. Geno Smith right now is playing like an all-pro. Or are you going to say that that talent was always there? The New York Jets made him look like he was horrible. Geno Smith's an MVP candidate right now, Manny.
The New York Jets made him look horrible because the New York Jets are horrible. They're horrible.
Exactly. But if Pat Mahomes goes to so Manny, you're saying that Pat Mahomes would have thrown if Pat Mahomes goes to the Jets, he's still Pat Mahomes because you just defeated your own argument right there. Because if Geno Smith was that talented, he would have overcame the Jets. But at the same, he would have.
This is first and foremost. I see why Grant is rubbing his hands because he freaking asked a fantastic question. That's a fantastic question. That is a fantastic. I want to give props for credit to this dude. That is a gorgeous question because you get both.
That's a professional at work with all the amateurs.
Right? Yeah, right.
Well, real quick before Manny goes, we're building on this culture point, right? Yeah. So Mahomes went to KC and they were in a good spot, right? Yeah. Lamar Jackson went to Baltimore and Baltimore has a winning culture. Let's be real, guys. Deshaun Watson is coming to a losing culture.
Yeah,
and he is. Again, we're expecting him to just come into Cleveland and boom, winning culture like that. That is why playing devil's advocate again is important because he's supposed to come in and just change everything, not just play good. He's supposed to win games by himself.
Yeah.
So that's why, again, it's even more alarming because all of these quarterbacks that are great now were inserted into great cultures. And as brutally honest as it sounds and as bad as it sounds, Deshaun Watson is coming into a losing culture.
He is. And I think culture matters because, even look at let's look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's look at the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. They're 4-7. If I remember correctly, are they 4-7 or 4-6? They're 4-7.
They're 4-7. Same record.
They're 4-7. They're having a horrible year, but let's look at their culture. There's no rumors of infighting on social media. There's nothing like that. They got rid of their biggest problem in Chase Claypool. You know why? Because they have a winning culture. They'll be back there next year. They'll be back there in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Culture matters, and that's why you can develop someone in the culture. Like, for example, like look at the New England Patriots. Bailey Zappi looks like he might legitimately be an NFL starter. I'm a big Zappi fan. I think he's going to end up being better than Mac Jones. That's why culture matters, Manny. And with the Bills, like, I think the Bills, if you go back and look at them, we know, like, 5 years ago, the Bills were a laughingstock. I think what Brandon Beane did there was so smart. He slowly built a juggernaut. 2017, they made the playoffs with Tyrod, and they kind of snuck in. They lucked in because A.J. Green caught that Hail Mary from Andy Dalton. They didn't overreact. They didn't go and try and, like, oh, my God, we're a playoff team now. We got to do X, Y, and Z. They traded their starting quarterback. You know how I know that? Because my favorite team traded for their starting quarterback. Tyrod Taylor was a Cleveland Brown. They got a third-round pick for 1.5 starts out of Tyrod Taylor. That's pretty impressive, if you ask me. But they drafted their guy. They stuck to their plan. And that's why Josh Allen was able to succeed. They always stuck to their plan. In my mind, I think most NFL GMs are smart that they can overcome a bad draft. But if you continue to have repetitive drafts and you kind of start to try and move away from that plan, that's what creates a bad culture. That's why I think quarterback is different. Like, even if you look at the Houston Texans when Deshaun went there, it's kind of the same thing. They had already built a playoff team. They had made the playoffs with Brock Osweiler the year before. They were just like, holy crap, this guy is terrible. We need to move on. They dumped Osweiler's contract and moved up and went their guy. Deshaun Watson could become Deshaun Watson because he quarterbacked a playoff team the year before. So, Manny, I get how you're saying talent rises to the top. Look at Aaron Rodgers. He sat behind Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Let's also talk about talent. Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be the Messiah, the hero of Jacksonville. You know what? Trevor Lawrence stinks. He's really not that good.
Trevor, but again, I think it's important. I think it's important because, like, it's hard to say with Trevor Lawrence because, again, I'm not saying that culture doesn't matter. It does have a part to play. But I think the question, if I remember it correctly, Grant, is that does talent change? Does a quarterback, depending on where they go, does it determine if they're going to be really good or really bad? I believe you probably have a quicker head start, but I'm looking at people like two of the greatest quarterbacks who ever played the game, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Their teams were booty traps before they got there.
No. Tom Brady with the Patriots, that's fake news. That's fake news. The Patriots were good.
They went to the playoffs.
They were decent.
They weren't all that.
Here's how I look at your point, though, like the culture thing. I think that the Browns, like, we think, oh, the Browns is the Browns, that's the narrative. I don't think these Browns are the same Browns they were 10 years ago. I think what Kevin Stefanski has built, I think people want to come play for Kevin Stefanski. They saw what he could do with Baker Mayfield. Go 8-9.
I
hurt Baker Mayfield. Okay, let's be real. If Baker Mayfield's healthy,
hurt Baker Mayfield or a year for defensive coordinators to prepare for the system and take away the bootleg play actions that Baker was effective on.
Hear me out. I think Kevin Stefanski is a smart offensive genius, and I think he can get people, and he's got the culture just where he wants it. And he's finally getting the
of what? Not talking. Just sitting and quietly answering questions and be like, okay, guys, we're going to do this, yada, yada, yada.
But I told you, Matt.
Do you want it to be like Freddie Kitchens where everything gets leaked before they even say anything?
I told you the difference. Before he had Deshaun Watson, he was working with literally like gray and fuchsia colors, and he was asked to paint Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
This is very hard. And now he has Deshaun Watson, and he has a full color palette to work with. Now we'll see Kevin Stefanski.
I think you go back to going back to Minnesota. And a lot of people were like, okay, that was Kubiak. And I want to say Kevin Stefanski kind of helped draw that up. And then the whole Stephon Diggs situation. I think he's learned from that. Look at Amari Cooper this year.
Yeah.
With Jacoby Brissett. Yeah. And I think once you get a guy like Deshaun Watson in that system, I think it's just going to flourish. Yeah. I think even having Nick Chubb in there taking off some of the pressure on him. I don't think Deshaun Watson, we've not talked about this. Deshaun Watson's not had a running back game like this, like he's going to have here this Sunday. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt.
Never had it.
Jerome Ford's going to be solid. Let's be real.
Line. Never had this defense.
I really want to see Jerome Ford get a couple carries this season. I've been kind of disappointed he hasn't really been used.
And I remember when you you guys are exactly right on Kevin Stefanski. Guys, why was Jacoby Brissett so good? Because in the offseason, the Haslams sat Kevin Stefanski down and said, look, probably before the season ended. They said, look, we're moving on from Baker. This is what's going to happen. We want you to give us your guy. Go handpick, do your research, give us your guy. And he came back with Deshaun Watson. And then they said, okay, we know Deshaun Watson has baggage. Give us your guy for who he at the time. He obviously didn't know how many games Watson was going to be out for. And so he went out and handpicked Jacoby Brissett. So you're exactly right, man. The full color palette. We haven't seen what Stefanski's been a great offensive coordinator, and we haven't even seen him at his full potential yet because now, December 4th, he'll finally have his
Talk
guy.
about it. Talk about it. Yep. Talk about it. So don't fire Kevin Stefanski. And this is the great part. I said it already. And as we close out here, well, I said it already. Like, it's 6 games. It's not a full season. That's the best part about all this. You just have to do 6 games. It's not a full season. You know what I mean? It'd be the worst if we had to wait a whole offseason and say blah blah blah. It's 6 games. You can see a little sample size and make adjustments because again, if the offense just looks straight track and then he runs Deshaun back-to-back plays on 3rd and 1 and we still don't get it, and if he does those stupid stuff again, then it's Kevin Stefanski.
So I got one question before we go, boys.
Good.
So I want to start a new segment. Actually, this just came off the top of my head.
Oh boy,
we pick one player and we pick their stat line and what we think they're going to get this week. So I'll start it.
I like it.
I'll start it. I'm going to say David Njoku. I already said this actually earlier. I think David Njoku has 2 touchdowns this week.
3.
2.
Oh, he said 2. Oh, I thought he said 3.
Yeah, that's right. I need that real quick.
I'm gonna go Deshaun. I'm gonna go Deshaun is nothing crazy. Like I said before already, 15 for 20, 16 for 21, 215 passing, a touchdown and a rushing touchdown. But it's that's the stat line that I'm looking at.
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Go ahead, Matt.
I'm gonna go DPJ. I'm gonna say 6 catches, 78 yards, and a tutty.
I like it. But you, Grant?
I'm going to keep it simple. I don't know if you guys saw Nick tweeted last week. Tell me any guy who scores a touchdown. I tweeted Schwartz. He scored. I'm going to keep it simple. Schwartz has 2 catches for 78 yards on Sunday. One of them's big. The other one's probably 5-10 yards.
Okay. I like that. I like that.
I like that.
Expect them to open it up at some point with him. And guys, maybe I look like a fool this week. Maybe it's not this week, but in the last 6 games, I expect to see them. The only reason Schwartz is still here is because they know and believe that he can do something with Deshaun Watson. If they didn't think that, he would have been gone forever ago.
Yes.
So whether it is in a couple days or down the road this season, we're going to see what they can do with him, and they're going to really try to open him up for sure.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
And, Grant, thank you so much for hopping on with us tonight.
Thank you, Grant. It's good to be back on with you, man.
This has been fun, man.
Anytime, boys. I'm about to go sweat this Bills game. I got a bet on it, of course.
Of course you do. Go make some cash.
All right, boys.
All right, boys.
Go Browns.